Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! The morning sunlight greeted Robert, casting a soft glow upon the clutter of fashion catalogs on his coffee table. It was a clandestine collection, one he'd accumulated over days, studying sizes, styles, and trends. Each page a roadmap to his hidden desires. His fingers, unsteady with anticipation, raked through his cropped hair as he gazed around the apartment. His haven. Here, 20 miles from the life he publicly led, he'd practiced, perfected, and pondered. The strides and heels, the art of makeup application, all preparing for this very moment. Tags still whispered promises from the sundress he'd selected, hanging like a silent invitation. The blonde wig, an impeccable disguise, stared back with silent scrutiny. Across the room, the strappy sandals in that elusive size 11 women's, a rare gem from an online boutique, beckoned. As he stared at his own reflection, Robert whispered the words that held the weight of a lifetime. Just this once. Just to know what it feels like. After shaving meticulously and applying foundation that had taken 3 YouTube tutorials to get right, Robert slipped the sundress over his head. The soft fabric caressed his skin in unfamiliar ways as it settled into place. The dress, white with delicate pink and purple flowers, hung a bit loosely around his waist, but otherwise fit his tall frame surprisingly well. He secured the blonde wig carefully, adjusting until it framed his face naturally. A touch of mascara, some blush, and a swipe of pink lipstick completed the look. The strappy sandals added 3 inches to his height, making him tower at 6'3". "Hello," he said to his reflection, voice pitched higher than normal. "I'm Scarlett." The name had come to him days ago. Elegant but not flashy, perfect for a first outing. His fingers brushed the car keys on the counter. Northbrook Mall waited 40 minutes away, far enough that the chance of running into someone he knew approached 0. His heart pounded against his ribs as he stepped outside, scanning the hallway before hurrying to the elevator. The drive passed in a blur of anxiety and second thoughts. What if someone recognized him? What if he looked ridiculous? What if the women at the mall could instantly tell he didn't belong? Each traffic light offered another opportunity to turn around, yet something propelled him forward. The mall parking lot loomed ahead. Robert chose a space far from the entrance, taking deep breaths before checking his appearance one final time in the rearview mirror. "Just a few hours," he promised himself. "Walk around, maybe buy something small, then go home." The walk across the parking lot proved the first test. The sandals, while stunning, weren't designed for someone unaccustomed to their structure. His ankles wobbled slightly with each step, forcing him to slow his pace. The automatic doors parted. Cool air conditioning rushed to greet him, along with the ambient sounds of the mall, conversations, distant music, the clacking of footwear on tile. Scarlett now, stepped inside, eyes downcast, waiting for shouts of recognition or mockery that never came. Nothing happened. People streamed past without a second glance. A group of teenage girls giggled nearby, but it had nothing to do with her. A security guard nodded politely. The world didn't stop spinning. Emboldened, Scarlett lifted her chin and headed toward the directory. Women's clothing stores beckoned from every wing. Her nervousness gradually melted into excitement as she mapped a route. Nordstrom first, then perhaps the boutiques along the East Corridor. The women's department at Nordstrom stretched before her in a landscape of colors and textures. Scarlett trailed her fingers along a rack of silk blouses, savoring the sensation. Another rack held cardigans in autumn colors, and beyond that, Skirts of varying lengths awaited exploration. "May I help you find something, ma'am?" The voice startled her. A saleswoman in her 50s with immaculate makeup and a black pantsuit smiled expectantly. The word "ma'am" hung in the air between them, the first time anyone had addressed Scarlett as a woman. "I'm just browsing," Scarlett managed, voice catching before she adjusted to a higher pitch. "Thank you." "Of course. We're having a sale on summer dresses if you're interested. Second rack to your left." The saleswoman moved away, leaving Scarlett in a state of quiet triumph. Her first interaction had gone smoothly. No raised eyebrows, no suspicious glances. She'd been accepted without question. The recommended sale rack proved irresistible. Among the offerings hung a beautiful navy blue dress with white polka dots. Scarlett checked the size, 14, and lifted it from the rack. The price tag showed a significant discount. "That would look lovely with your height," came the saleswoman's voice again. "Would you like to try it on?" Panic fluttered in Scarlett's chest. A fitting room meant confined spaces, potential questions, exposure. "I think I'll just take it," she replied. "I know my size." "Are you sure? We want our customers to be completely satisfied." Something in the woman's gentle persistence broke through Scarlett's hesitation. Perhaps this was part of the experience, the trying on, the assessment, the ritual of women's shopping that she'd only observed from afar. "Actually, yes. I'd like to try it on." The fitting room attendant, a young woman with vibrant purple hair, handed Scarlett a numbered plastic card. "Let me know if you need anything else," she said, with casual friendliness. Inside the small cubicle, Scarlett hung the blue dress on a hook and studied herself in the three-way mirror. The floral sundress had served its purpose, but seeing herself fully transformed from multiple angles brought a rush of emotion. The blonde wig framed her face softly, and the makeup, though amateur, effectively softened her features. She slipped out of the sundress carefully, avoiding disturbing the wig, and eased the polka dot dress over her head. It fit perfectly across the shoulders and chest, tapering nicely at the waist before flowing to just below the knee. The saleswoman had been right. It complemented her height beautifully. Scarlett emerged from the fitting room with newfound confidence. "I'll take it," she told the saleswoman, who beamed approvingly. "Excellent choice. Would you like to wear it out?" The opportunity to leave the old dress behind felt symbolic. "Yes, please." At the register, Scarlett presented her credit card, Robert Mercer embossed on its surface. A moment of panic seized her until the cashier processed the transaction without comment. Of course, people used others' credit cards all the time. Spouses, partners, family members. With the sundress tucked into a Nordstrom shopping bag, Scarlett ventured deeper into the mall. Each step in her strappy sandals grew more natural. Her posture improved, shoulders relaxed. Store windows reflected a tall, blonde woman with a growing smile. The cosmetics counter at Macy's drew her next. Display cases glittered with promises of transformation. Foundations, eyeshadows, lipsticks in every conceivable shade. Scarlett approached cautiously, admiring the artful arrangements. "Looking for anything specific today?" A makeup artist with flawless contouring and dramatic eyeliner appeared at her side. Scarlett hesitated. "I need everything, really. I'm just beginning to build my collection." The woman, Tiffany according to her name tag, brightened. "A blank canvas! My favorite! What's your skin type?" The consultation lasted 45 minutes. Scarlett emerged with a bag containing foundation that actually matched her skin tone, brushes of various shapes and sizes, neutral eyeshadows for beginners, and a lipstick in dusty rose that Tiffany swore would bring out the warmth in your complexion. Confidence growing with each purchase, Scarlett decided to brave the food court for lunch. She selected a salad from a Mediterranean stand and found a small table near the center fountain. The art of eating carefully to preserve lipstick proved challenging, but manageable. 3 hours into her mall adventure, Scarlett had accumulated 4 shopping bags and countless small victories. She'd successfully navigated women's clothing departments, makeup counters, even public restrooms, slipping into a stall quickly and efficiently. Not once had anyone questioned her presence or identity. The lingerie store loomed ahead, Victoria's Secret with its pink-striped facade and window mannequins in elaborate bras and panties. Scarlett hesitated. This seemed a boundary too far, too intimate for her first outing. As she turned to head toward the exit, planning to end the day on her current high note, a familiar voice froze her in place. "Scarlett, is that you?" The name registered before the voice's owner did. Scarlett turned slowly, confusion turning to horror as recognition dawned. Standing before her, shopping bags in hand and head tilted inquisitively, stood Elaine Westfield, his boss's wife. Impossible scenarios raced through Scarlett's mind. How could Elaine possibly know the name she'd selected for herself? How could she recognize someone who didn't exist until today? "I'm sorry," Scarlett managed. "I think you might have me confused with—" No, it must be you," Elaine insisted, stepping closer. "Scarlett from the hair salon on Maple Street? You did my color last month. The auburn highlights?" Relief flooded through Scarlett so intensely her knees nearly buckled. Mistaken identity, the simplest explanation. "I'm afraid I'm not—" "Oh!" Elaine's hand flew to her mouth. "I'm so embarrassed. You look exactly like my stylist. Uncanny resemblance. Please forgive me." "No need to apologize," Scarlett assured her, preparing to make a polite exit. "I'm Elaine Westfield, by the way." She extended her hand. "My husband Thomas runs Mercer Architectural Solutions." The mention of her workplace, her actual name embedded in the company title, sent a fresh wave of panic through Scarlett. She shook Elaine's hand weakly. "Nice to meet you. I'm Scarlett." "Scarlett?" Elaine prompted. "Scarlett Wilson." The surname came from nowhere, perhaps a street sign glimpsed on the drive over. "Such a pleasure. Are you shopping for anything special today?" Common courtesy demanded engagement, however brief. "Just picking up a few things. Summer refreshes for my wardrobe." "Your dress is absolutely darling," Elaine commented, gesturing to the navy polka dots. "Where did you find it?" "Nordstrom! They're having a sale!" "I should have checked there first. I've been looking for something for the company luncheon next week." Elaine's eyes lit suddenly. "Actually, Scarlett, this might sound forward, but would you be interested in joining us? It's our annual ladies' luncheon for executives' wives and female staff. Thomas mentioned they're short on attendees from the design department this year." The invitation hung in the air like a suspended anvil. Scarlett's mouth opened, but no words emerged. "It's at La Maison downtown, next Thursday at noon," Elaine continued, mistaking Scarlett's silence for consideration. "The food is divine, and the company is even better. A chance to network with the ladies of MAS. I don't actually work at Mercer," Scarlett finally managed. Elaine waved dismissively. "Doesn't matter. We always welcome friends of the company. Thomas is always saying we need fresh perspectives." She pulled out her phone. "Give me your number, and I'll text you the details." Trapped in the escalating charade, Scarlett recited her personal cell number, the one that also belonged to Robert Mercer, MAS's senior design coordinator, who would absolutely be expected at work during the ladies' luncheon. "Perfect!" Elaine beamed, tucking her phone away. "I'll also add you to our group chat. The ladies will adore you. We need more tall women to balance out all the petite ones." "I'm not sure I can." "No excuses. It'll be wonderful." "Oh, look at the time! I must run! Thomas is expecting me for dinner with clients." Elaine touched Charlotte's arm. "So lovely meeting you, Charlotte. See you Thursday." Before Charlotte could formulate a response, Elaine disappeared into the stream of shoppers, leaving disaster in her wake. The drive home passed in a daze of panic. Charlotte, now transforming back into Robert with each mile, replayed the conversation repeatedly. By the time he reached his apartment, the blonde wig tossed onto the passenger seat and lipstick wiped away with a tissue, he'd counted at least 12 ways the situation could implode. Inside his apartment, Robert dumped his shopping bags on the couch and collapsed beside them. His phone buzzed with an incoming text. "Hi, Charlotte. It's Elaine Westfield. So wonderful meeting you today. Here's the info for Thursday's luncheon. Looking forward to it." Below the message lay all the details: time, location, dress code, business casual or smart sundress, and a list of expected attendees that included the CFO's wife, the VP of marketing, and Robert's own administrative assistant, Denise. A second text arrived moments later. "I've added you to our group chat. Ladies, please welcome Charlotte Wilson to our lunch next week." Robert stared at his phone in horror as notification after notification rolled in. Welcome messages from women he knew professionally, women who worked alongside him daily, women who had no idea that Charlotte was sitting in his living room wearing a navy blue polka dot dress and strappy sandals. The charade had spiraled beyond control. If he didn't attend, Elaine would surely mention the snub to Thomas, who might mention it to Robert himself. If he did attend, the consequences were unthinkable. He paced the apartment, dress swishing around his legs. The new makeup purchases sat accusingly on his coffee table. The blonde wig stared from the passenger seat of his car, visible through the living room window. An idea formed slowly, outrageous, terrifying, but possibly the only way forward. Charlotte would need to attend the luncheon. Charlotte would need an identity, a backstory, a reason for her connection to MAS that wouldn't raise suspicion. And, most importantly, Charlotte would need auburn hair, not blonde, to ensure no connection to the woman in the mall if Elaine mentioned their meeting to Thomas. Robert reached for his laptop. 1 week to prepare for the performance of his life. The following morning at work, Robert listened attentively as Thomas Westfield discussed upcoming projects in their weekly staff meeting. "Before we wrap up," Thomas said, "Elaine wanted me to remind everyone about the ladies' luncheon next Thursday. Apparently, attendance is looking sparse from the design department." Robert cleared his throat. "Actually, sir, I believe my cousin Charlotte might be attending. She mentioned meeting your wife yesterday." Thomas brightened. "Charlotte Wilson?" "Yes, Elaine mentioned her. Your cousin, eh? Elaine was quite taken with her. Said she'd be a wonderful addition." "Charlotte's visiting from—" Robert hesitated. "Portland. She's also in design, different firm. I thought it might be good for her to network while she's in town." "Excellent initiative, Robert. Always good to keep connections in the industry strong." The lie bought Robert temporary safety. Now he just needed to ensure that Robert and Charlotte never needed to be in the same place at the same time. The weekend provided crucial preparation time. Robert drove to a different mall, 2 counties away, to purchase an auburn wig, high quality, with natural-looking layers that fell just below his shoulders. He practiced walking in his heels until blisters formed, then healed. He watched countless makeup tutorials, focusing on techniques to soften his jawline and accentuate his eyes. He drafted a detailed backstory. Scarlett Wilson, 38, senior designer at a boutique firm in Portland, visiting her cousin Robert for 2 weeks. Divorced, no children, specializing in commercial interior spaces. Enough specific details to sound authentic, vague enough to avoid easy verification. By Wednesday evening, the transformation had evolved significantly from his mall debut. The auburn wig suited his coloring better than the blonde, and his makeup skills had improved remarkably. The navy polka dot dress had been pressed, and a delicate silver necklace added to complete the ensemble. "Hello?" he practiced in the mirror, voice pitched to what he hoped was a natural-sounding, feminine range. "I'm Scarlett Wilson, Robert's cousin from Portland." Thursday morning arrived with nauseating intensity. Robert called in sick to work, a first in his 7 years at Mayes. Denise, his assistant, sounded concerned. "Nothing serious," he assured her. "Just need a day to recover. Probably back tomorrow." "Take care of yourself," she replied. "I'll reschedule your meetings. Oh, and I'll see your cousin at the luncheon today. Mrs. Westfield has been talking her up to everyone." Robert's transformation into Scarlett took nearly 2 hours. Each detail required perfection. The auburn wig styled in loose waves, makeup applied with surgical precision, the navy dress accessorized with the silver necklace, and a matching bracelet. A light floral perfume completed the effect. The drive to La Maison downtown felt like heading to the gallows. Scarlett rehearsed names, relationships, company structure details, anything that might arise in conversation. She parked 3 blocks away, not wanting to risk being spotted emerging from Robert's distinctive blue sedan. La Maison's elegant facade loomed ahead. Through the windows, Scarlett could already see women gathering in the private dining room, women who knew Robert Mercer as a colleague, a supervisor, a professional acquaintance, women who would now meet his cousin, Scarlett. "Just 2 hours," she whispered to herself. "Smile. Be pleasant. Keep conversation focused on them, not you." The maitre d' greeted her warmly. "Name for your reservation, madam?" "I'm with the Mercer Architectural Solutions luncheon," Scarlett replied, pleased with how steady her voice sounded. "Ah, yes, right this way. Most of your party has arrived." The private dining room buzzed with conversation. 15 women of various ages sat around an elegantly set table, cocktails and appetizers already being enjoyed. Elaine Westfield spotted Scarlett immediately, rising from her seat with a delighted expression. "Scarlett, you made it!" She embraced Scarlett warmly, the scent of expensive perfume enveloping them both. "Everyone, this is Scarlett Wilson, the wonderful woman I met shopping last week. She's actually Robert Mercer's cousin, visiting from Portland." All eyes turned to Scarlett. Among the faces, she recognized Denise, her own assistant, along with several departmental secretaries, executives' wives, and the head of human resources, who had processed Robert's employment paperwork 7 years ago. "Such a pleasure to meet you all," Scarlett managed, taking the empty seat Elaine indicated, directly across from Denise. "Robert called in sick today," Denise said immediately. "I hope it's nothing he might have passed to you." Scarlett's heart stuttered. "Oh no, he was fine when I left this morning. Perhaps something he ate disagreed with him." "Men are such babies about stomach upset," laughed the CFO's wife, breaking the tension. "My husband acts like he's dying if he gets indigestion." The conversation shifted to general agreement about men's poor handling of minor illnesses, buying Scarlett precious moments to settle her nerves. A server appeared at her elbow. "Sparkling or still water, madam?" "Sparkling, please." Scarlett unfolded her napkin, placing it carefully on her lap as she'd practiced. "So, Charlotte," began the HR director, Patricia Mueller, "Elaine tells us you're also in design. Which firm in Portland?" "Wilson and Associates," Charlotte replied smoothly. "Small boutique firm, specializing in commercial spaces." "Any relation to the Wilson in the name?" "My ex-husband, actually. I kept the name professionally after the divorce." The answer seemed to satisfy Patricia, who nodded sympathetically. The first course arrived, a delicate salad with goat cheese and candied walnuts. Charlotte watched the other women for cues on which fork to use, mirroring their movements. "How long have you been in design?" asked Denise, who seemed particularly interested in Charlotte's background. 15 years professionally, though I've loved interior spaces since childhood. Robert and I used to rearrange furniture in our grandparents' house every summer." The fabricated shared history flowed naturally. Charlotte found herself elaborating on details of a childhood that had never existed. Summer trips to imaginary lakeside cabins, design school experiences, professional challenges in the Portland market. "You and Robert do favor each other," observed an executive's wife. "Something around the eyes." "Our mothers were sisters," Charlotte explained, heart racing. "The Mercer eyes," our grandmother called them. By the main course, a perfectly prepared salmon with seasonal vegetables, Charlotte had hit her stride. The initial terror had given way to a surprising enjoyment of the role. These women accepted her completely, included her in their conversations, asked her opinions on everything from design trends to Portland's restaurant scene. "We should get you into the office while you're here," Elaine suggested, sipping her wine. "I'd love your perspective on the lobby redesign Thomas has been putting off. Sometimes it takes an outside voice." Several voices murmured agreement. Charlotte smiled non-committally. "My schedule is rather full this visit, but perhaps next time." "How long are you in town?" asked Patricia, the HR director. "Just through next week," Charlotte replied. "Then back to Portland. We have a hotel project entering final phase." "Well, you must come to my dinner party Saturday," insisted Elaine. "Nothing formal, just a few couples. Thomas would love to meet you, and it would give you and Robert a chance to socialize together. He works too much, barely leaves that drafting table." The invitation created an impossible scenario. Robert and Charlotte in the same room. Charlotte's carefully constructed house of cards wavered. "That's very kind, but—" "No arguments! 7 o'clock. I'll text you the address." Elaine turned to Denise. "Make sure Robert knows, too. That man would forget his own birthday without reminders." Dessert arrived. A chocolate soufflé that Charlotte barely tasted as her mind raced through limited options. The luncheon would end soon, this hurdle cleared, only to present a higher one in its place. As coffee was served, conversation turned to company gossip. Charlotte listened attentively, learning more about Robert's workplace dynamics in an hour than he'd gathered in years. And then Robert had to redo the entire presentation overnight, Denise was saying. Never complained once, even though it was completely the client's mistake. "That sounds like my cousin," Charlotte said fondly. "Always taking responsibility, even when it's not his fault." "We're lucky to have him," agreed Patricia. "One of our most reliable team members." The genuine praise for Robert, for her actual self, created an odd sensation in Charlotte's chest. These women respected Robert professionally, spoke well of him when he wasn't present. It felt like eavesdropping on her own eulogy. The luncheon concluded just after 2 o'clock. Charlotte endured a round of warm goodbyes, exchanged phone numbers with several women who insisted on keeping in touch, and promised Elaine she would consider the dinner invitation. I'll confirm tomorrow, she said, embracing Elaine. Thank you for including me today. It was lovely. Outside La Maison, Charlotte walked the 3 blocks to her car on unsteady legs, partly from relief, partly from the sustained tension of the performance. Once inside the vehicle, she allowed herself a moment of pure, unfiltered panic before pulling into traffic. The apartment welcomed her like a sanctuary. Charlotte, now transitioning back to Robert, removed the auburn wig carefully, setting it on its stand. The makeup came off next, then the navy dress, replaced with comfortable sweatpants and a t-shirt. Physical transformation reversed, but something remained different. Robert's phone buzzed with a text from Denise. Hope you're feeling better. Met your cousin today. She's lovely. The whole table was impressed. She mentioned you might both attend Elaine's dinner Saturday. Another text arrived from an unknown number. Charlotte, it's Elaine. The ladies adored you. Everyone's talking about how refreshing your perspective was. Please say you'll come Saturday. Thomas is eager to meet Robert's accomplished cousin. Robert stared at both messages, the twin lives converging toward an impossible collision. He'd managed today's performance against all odds, but Saturday presented a logical impossibility. He couldn't be 2 people simultaneously, unless a radical solution formed in his mind. Charlotte had been accepted without question. Robert was respected at work, but maintained limited social connections. The dinner party would include people from outside the company, people who didn't know Robert Mercer. What if Robert sent his regrets, but Charlotte attended? What if, over time, Robert appeared at fewer social functions while Charlotte became more integrated into that world? What if this wasn't a one-time masquerade, but the beginning of a transition Robert had never consciously acknowledged wanting? The auburn wig caught the afternoon light from the window, casting warm highlights across its strands. In that moment, it looked more natural, more authentic than his own brown hair ever had. Robert picked up his phone and composed a text to Elaine. This is Charlotte. Thank you again for today. I'd be delighted to attend Saturday. Unfortunately, Robert mentioned his stomach trouble has worsened, perhaps a mild food poisoning. He sends his regrets but encourages me to represent the Mercer family in his absence. The response came almost immediately. Poor Robert. Tell him to take care of himself. We're thrilled you'll join us, Charlotte. You were the highlight of today's luncheon. Robert set down the phone and gazed at his reflection in the mirror, stubble returning, makeup removed, physically male again. Yet somewhere during those 2 hours at La Maison, something fundamental had shifted. Charlotte wasn't just a disguise he'd worn. She was a part of himself he'd finally allowed to exist in the world. The auburn wig waited patiently on its stand. Saturday's dinner party would be another performance, another step into Charlotte's life. But beyond that stretched possibilities Robert had never permitted himself to envision, a gradual transition, a life divided and then, perhaps, someday, unified. He reached for his laptop and began researching voice coaches in the area. The floral sundress and blonde wig remained in their shopping bags, first attempts now rendered obsolete. In their place, the auburn-haired woman in the navy dress had discovered not just acceptance from others, but, more importantly, from herself. An unexpected invitation had changed everything. Had invited Robert to finally meet Charlotte, the woman he might become. Thanks for watching, my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!